Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit splits the weekend, losing to Carolina in Carolina, but really playing a great game against the Golden Knights, winning 3-0, earning Mrazek's first shutout in the winged wheel in a decade.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a sports writer for C&G newspapers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. And we have a weekend split to cover. A pretty predictable outcome in Carolina, where the Wings didn't necessarily play terribly, but were just outclassed by Carolina. I think that was the thumbnail the last time they played Carolina. Just, they are a style of hockey that the Red Wings do not know how to respond to. Then on Sunday, the great response at LCA, honestly playing so well against the Vegas Golden Knights. So we'll talk about both those games. But first, I got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Also, want to thank you guys for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Listen is what I was about to say there. I caught myself. Scotty, we've got two games this weekend, and whenever we have a weekend series, I kind of took a cue from you at Locked On Tigers. You just got to talk about them both. Like, it's impossible to completely separate them, so we'll do our best to point out when we're talking about each specific game. But as a preface, I was not able to watch the game against the Carolina Hurricanes. I was in Grand Rapids, actually watching the Griffins win a 3-2 shootout win that night. So I was not able to watch that game, so I'll be relying a lot on Scotty, who was able to provide us with that information. But, Scotty, with this weekend split, what is your first thought?
Well, my first thought after the game on Sunday was that was a heck of a hockey game, man. I mean, they looked really good against a really good team. And I think defensively specifically, you saw a brand of hockey that we have not seen out of the Wings in quite some time. Yeah, like genuinely one of the better defensive efforts I think we've seen from Detroit. Man, I don't want to get too dramatic and say like all season, but like maybe all season. Like they legitimately, that was a great defensive performance all around. And so I think honestly, my first thought from the weekend as a whole was just like, you're still in it. And that's all we were really asking for on the other side of the weekend, right? I don't think anyone went into Carolina and Vegas thinking that they were going to walk out of there with 4 points on a weekend, but if you were talking about it before we hit record, if we're recording Sunday night about 8 p.m. So, you know, there's still some games going on, but like they could go into Monday 2 points out of a wild card spot. And like, I think going into the weekend and considering how good they looked in the, you know, recency bias, the last game of the weekend, that's pretty much as good of a result as you could ask for going into it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, without having seen the game against Carolina, but just having watched the highlights and having seen the final score clearly, you know, my first thought on the weekend as a whole is like, that's a pretty good result. And you put pretty clearly why right there, right? You're playing Carolina, who's second in the Metro. You're playing Vegas, who's first in the Pacific, and you went 1-1. Obviously, it hurts a lot more right now because they just came off a 6-game losing streak in March where things began to spiral. Now you need every single point you can get. So there's going to still be a lot of, and understandably so, a lot of discontent at the loss to Carolina because Carolina did what Carolina did to you last time and pretty much every time you play them. They hold on to the puck and they don't give you the ability to really generate any offense. That's what they do. That's what we said on Friday they were going to do to you. And that's what we said the week before that they were going to do to you. And that's what they continue to do every single time. It was a Carolina Hurricanes hockey game in Carolina. The game against Vegas, however, again, that was the top team in the Pacific Division, and you, by all intents and purposes, kind of dominated that hockey game. That was a great response, and you give yourself an opportunity, if Edmonton can hold on to this 1-0 lead here at the end of the first period as we record, to go into tomorrow still just 2 points back of the last wild card, giving yourselves an outside shot of making the playoffs still. Now, obviously, I am veiling myself in protection. I have a blanket of protection around me to stop myself from getting hurt like last year. I still don't believe this team is going to make the playoffs at this point, just because you've played yourself out of the ability to control your own destiny. But I'm not also closing the door on it. They're still just right there, but they have to continue to play really good hockey from here on out and
against
able to make
really good teams, man.
Right.
I know it's a broken record and everybody's heard it a billion times, but like, the hardest schedule in hockey the rest of the way, and it's going to be an uphill battle for sure, but they're not out of it. And I think that's, again, all we were really asking for, given the two opponents to come out of the weekend, at. I
mean, one of the better teams in the league, the top team in the Pacific Division, you out high danger. The high danger chances at 5-on-5 were 18-4 in favor of the Red Wings. The expected goals share was 72% in favor of the Red Wings compared to the 28% of the Golden Knights. Like, you came out and you outperformed and outplayed the Golden Knights on home ice at LCA. So that is a good sign. That shows you that, hey, you can play with these upper teams. There is just a huge style fit, but we don't have to go down that road about why you struggle with Carolina, because we'll be here all night. But Scotty, when it comes to difference makers on the weekend, who was your weekend difference maker? And again, it's hard because there was a win and a loss.
Yeah, honestly, I think you should go first, because I think, if you're assuming you're going with the same guy you said you were going to go with before we hit record, because I think that is, if you were to pick one guy throughout both games that really kept them in it, I'll say on until it got out of reach, obviously, on Friday, and then obviously had a fantastic game on Sunday. I think that he is probably the most worthy of said title for both games.
Yeah, and I appreciate you not stealing my guy there. Petr Mrazek, goaltender, and obviously, again, didn't see the game against Carolina, only saw the highlights. Based solely on the highlights from my perspective, and I'm sure you'll add to it with better depth because you watched that game here in a moment, I don't think any of the goals were really his fault. I thought maybe the Roslovic goal, he was a little out of position, but Roslovic was still backdoor wide open and Sutter wasn't covering his guy. So that is not on him. The other two goals, one was a deflection, because I caught Kanyemi one, and the other one was a shot through a screen because Edmondson crossed right across Mrazek's eyes. Didn't think Mrazek was at fault for any of those goals against. I agreed with McClellan running it right back with Mrazek tonight on Sunday, and they did a really good job of insulating Mrazek in this game. Again, he only faced 4 high-danger chances in this hockey game at 5-on-5. Red Wings didn't take any penalties either, so they didn't put him on the penalty kill and ask more of him than needed. But he was able to shut the door for his first shutout in over 10 years. And one thing we've been talking about since before the deadline, is if this team's going to make the playoffs, one of two things needs to happen. Well, preferably both. Is they need to get better at the penalty kill, and they need to have consistent, just serviceable goaltending. We're not asking for Andrei Vasilevsky. We're asking you to give this team an opportunity. He only faced 18 shots, but he didn't let a single shot in on Sunday. I think he's giving the Red Wings an opportunity here to win some hockey games, and he did so on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And to piggyback off that, like he did on Friday too. I mean, that game was he did keep them, again, kept that a little bit closer than it certainly could have been. Not that Carolina is some, high-flying offense, but just as a whole, I think he did exactly what was asked of him throughout the course of the entire weekend, if not, obviously, a little bit more thanks to the shutty on Sunday. So, yeah, I think if you're looking for one guy that had, the best weekend or whatnot, pretty hard to go anywhere outside of that. My difference maker's a little bit weird because he only walks out of both of these games with 1 point, I believe. But I thought that for both of these games, Alex DeBrincat was everywhere, man. And again, it maybe difference maker isn't the right terminology. Maybe that's not like the right way to put it, because he had 0 points on Sunday and had the 1 goal on Saturday in a loss. But like, he was getting opportunity after opportunity. He had one specific, probably should have had a goal on Sunday. Brilliant save. Barely misses that. He had a fantastic pass to Marco Kasper right in front of the net on Sunday that probably should have been an assist. Kasper just whiffed the net entirely, unfortunately, right in front of the goalie's face. There is a very, very easy to obtain reality in which he walks out of this weekend with like 4 points. And the if, ands, and buts game is obviously a slippery slope. I'm just saying that when you're talking about offensive pressure and opportunities created, I don't think anybody was affecting the offense more than DeBrincat was this weekend, even if maybe the points don't jump off the page at you.
Well, don't forget he had yet another goal that he thought he scored that did not cross the goal line.
Right.
He has had three this season. Well, 2 this season, and 1 last week that did cross the goal line, but got waved off for some pretty weak goaltender interference. So he could have easily had 2 goals. And, I think that does lead perfectly well into notable performers, because I have it on the show sheet there on the side. And in my notes, the second line played great on Sunday with Marco Kasper at center, and Alex DeBrincat is a huge factor in that. His shot is lethal. Obviously, he has 31 goals on the season now. So we'll talk about DeBrincat and the rest of the second line here on the other side of this break. Stay tuned to Locked on Red Wings. Eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated. With Factor, you get chef-made, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel your body without the hassle of cooking. Factor meals arrive fresh, never frozen, and with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences each week, so you can customize your menu to fit your goals, whether that's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. They got a variety of different tastes. The Korean beef bowl and creamy Parmesan chicken are some of my favorites. They taste homemade but take no effort. Factor also offers smoothies, breakfasts, and snacks, so you always have something nutritious ready to go. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off free shipping on your first order. I'm going to miss the really long promo code. That was always fun. Segment 2, Locked on Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty. Notable performers in this hockey game. I teased at the end of segment 1. I thought that specifically in the game against the Golden Knights, the second line again looked fantastic, and I'm loving, with each game that passes, I am loving Marco Kasper as the center for Kane and DeBrincat for all the reasons we've already stated, right? He's just that hard-nosed guy who has a nose for the net. He will crash the net when appropriate. He'll take on battles along the boards and win those board battles. He's a hard forechecker. He plays good defense. And I just love the chemistry with those 2 wingers in Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. Patrick Kane has seen a great resurgence in terms of production. The puck on his stick here down the stretch of the season, it seems every single time he gets it, he's floating a beautiful pass to DeBrincat, who without that slash may have scored on a little abbreviated breakaway against the Golden Knights as well. That second line just continues to impress me. And when you talk about the defense of that line too, obviously you're not getting anything out of Patrick Kane in that regard. And that's Patrick Kane, and we accept that. That's not a critique. That's just how it is. Marco Kasper is shaping up to be a pretty solid defensive center, something that you knew you were going to get when you drafted him, right? What is Yzerman's MO with forwards? 2-way game. And Marco Kasper brings that. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of development as he's going to need a little bit of muscle to get bigger, but it's the effort is there. DeBrincat, the effort is there. He made a couple really nice plays in the game against the Golden Knights to back check. And we sing his praises defensively every single game. Again, he's not going to give you great defensive numbers, but the effort is there. So I just thought the second line, ever since Kasper's kind of filled in on that role for Andrew Kopp, and Andrew Kopp, for what it's worth, was he was having a really good season under McClellan before he got hurt. But I think Marco Kasper's kind of taken this role in about a week now. He's been there and not looking back. He had that great goal in this one, but it was a great play from Kane to Gustafsson as well. It's just the synergy of that line is quickly finding its place.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I don't have too much else to add. I just think this is a really kind of a perfect marriage of offense and defense. You hopefully get both of those things from Marco. You have the extreme offense in Kane, and then you obviously have an offensive forward that has improved defensively, but is still obviously more out there because of his offense there on the other wing in Cat. And I think the offense they have produced has obviously been stellar lately, but with Kasper looking how he has and playing how he has, especially if you have top pair defense out there, like you can really get a little bit more comfortable with, like, Patrick Kane had an incredible back check for a turnover on Sunday. Like you can get a little bit more comfortable putting those guys out there in obviously you're still gonna, with the game on the line, you're not gonna put Patrick Kane out there in the defensive zone, but like you can at least get a little bit more liberal with the deployment in that term. So yeah, man, like I think it's fantastic. I also think that I mean, like I said, you had a pretty darn incredible back check that led to a turnover from Patrick Kane on Sunday, which was kind of nice to see.
And for what it's worth, he blocked 2 shots in that hockey game too.
Yeah,
so
sure did.
maybe he's got a little bit of defense in him yet. We don't know. But yes, Scotty, agreed. As far as notable performers, who else you're going with here?
Yeah, honestly, I think there's kind of, I don't know, like you can kind of go around the that top 6. I think it's worth noting that Raymond ended his drought. He went like 11 games or something without scoring a goal.
Been a while, yeah,
a lot, dude. So him finding the back of the net on Sunday, I think, is a huge deal. Obviously for the production too.
It was a fantastic second effort too, right? Like,
yeah,
he had to battle through. It wasn't him. He wasn't dangling, but he had to battle through a couple sticks, and he was able to kick it back up to himself and just release it. And it's one of those things. Like, remember when Raymond gave Larkin that empty net goal, and it kind of just kicked off him being able to find the back of the net. You hope like that one where he just had to like make it happen. It wasn't an easy one, but he had to make it work and make it find the back of the net. Like, that's the moment where Lucas Raymond's like, oh, okay, now I can go back to scoring again. Not that it's a conscious decision to make, but just these things have a way of snowballing. That being said, I don't think the top line was particularly amazing in this hockey game. In fact, you saw a little bit of a shuffle going on. Rasmussen played wing on there for a little bit. But I did think Michael Rasmussen on the weekend played well, earning his spot back at center to start the game with the Detroit Red Wings. I think he finished there too by the end, that fourth line with Mott on the wing. So I liked Michael Rasmussen back at center in this game. Obviously, he scored the other goal against the Carolina Hurricanes, a second and third effort whack at that puck. So I just want to give Michael Rasmussen props. I do want to say, I'm sorry, I'm sure you want to add on to the Michael Rasmussen thing, but with Marco Kasper, the one area he does still really massively need to improve is winning faceoffs. He seems to get crushed in faceoffs almost every single game. He went 3 for 8 against the Vegas Golden Knights. And he went, let's see here, 5 for 9 against the Carolina Hurricanes. So as much praise as we give Marco Kasper, and he's only a rookie, so I'm not worried about the faceoff. Part of it, again, is needing to get stronger.
Yeah.
That's an area he will desperately need to improve upon, because winning faceoffs can, it has a massive ripple effect on how the rest of the shift plays out, whether or not you're chasing possession or maintaining possession right off rip. So, but yes, Michael Rasmussen. Sorry to digress there.
No, I think that's valid points to bring up. Yeah, Rasmussen's one of those guys where even if you don't see a ton of points on the box score, you can tell just by watching the rest of the bottom 6, and I mean played his way into the top 6 at one point on Sunday's game. But like you can tell by watching everyone else, not even him, whether he's in the lineup or not, and you can tell what they missed.
Mm-hmm.
When he was hurt, and it's really nice to see him back out there. Got absolutely clobbered in the face by a pad that the goalie was wearing. That was absolutely wild. But regardless of that, man, he's a guy that, because of his versatility and kind of the intangibles that he brings, I think is very important to this team's success down the stretch here.
Agreed. We got to head to another quick break. When we return, we'll finish off with notable performers from the weekend before sending you off into your Monday. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings.
Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, with each 1 ounce serving having 6 grams of protein. That gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It is the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, I'm on a road trip, or just need quick protein, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Also got to talk to y'all about Monarch Money. If you ever checked your bank account and wondered, well, where did all of my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is so easy to lose track these days. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app either. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending habits all in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery, and now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check all of your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Making money with your partner, managing money rather, with your partner is also smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year.
Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Phenomenal job, Scotty. You crushed both those reads. I don't know why I don't just have you do it. You don't stutter through the reads like I do. You cruise.
Well, I'm a fraud. Like I just did both of those for Tigers 30 minutes before this. So like it's just me having more reps in the weight room there and just coming out of practice. You're just catching me.
He's already warmed up.
Yeah.
All right. We got to talk about Albert Johansson's goal.
Yeah, man.
That was crazy to kick things off. And honestly, I really think that energized the Red Wings kind of for the rest of the game. They were already playing pretty good, but that goal was filthy. I didn't know Albert Johansson had that kind of finesse in him. Like, he's pretty well touted as a defenseman first and foremost, and he just goes down low and toe drags his way around the goaltender in this game. That being Ilya Samsonov, and just pulls it back and tucks it in. And that was his second career NHL goal. Like, I don't really have any critical breaking down of this goal to do other than just like my jaw dropped to the floor when he made that move. I was amazed.
Yeah, dude, absolutely nasty. It's one of those things where plays like that really remind you like just how insanely good these guys are. Like, that's not a guy that anyone was like, oh yeah, like got, crazy mitts and can, consistently make a play like that. Like it just, again, it reminds you like how talented even, second pair defensemen are in the offensive zone when it's a 1-on-0 in front of an NHL goalie. Like, it's still able to do stuff like that is unbelievable, and is a nice reminder of just exactly how incredibly talented all these guys are. It was disgusting though, and I hope that not that one goal is going to change his trajectory of his season or whatnot, but like, he's already exceeded expectations for him, at least that we set for him going into the year, and I'm sure most of the fan base did. So if he can just continue to take those strides and maybe gain some confidence, then yeah, man, like him being a solidified top 4 defenseman, I think is very much in the cards at this point.
Power play in this game. On the weekend, the special teams was kind of a mixed bag, but the opposite way you would expect. Power play on the weekend went 0 for 4. Penalty kill went 2 for 2. Those 2 penalty kills happened against Carolina. There were no penalty kill special team situations against Vegas in terms of penalties taken, because as soon as the Red Wings took a penalty against Vegas, it was canceled out. It was 4-on-4 for 2 minutes. So, this was a situation where I was really relieved to see the penalty kill able to, not allow a goal for once in their lives against Carolina, but also a little disheartened to see the power play kind of continue to flutter here. They had a big game against Buffalo. They scored 2 power play goals, both of Patrick Kane's. But for a little bit of a stretch here, after a while where they were, 50% after McClellan took over, they've seemed to have cooled off since then. Not that they haven't had good power plays, right? We've talked about it. They've had some power plays where they looked phenomenal, right? Where the puck movement was great. But I think against Vegas, they looked a tick off. It's just one of those. It's one of those situations where the power play is looking good, but it's just not finishing. So I guess the question, Scotty, are you at all concerned about the lack of conversion on the power play of late?
I don't know. I think. I would say I have noticed, and I would say that on
he's
a game-to-game... What?
I said he's noticing.
He's right. I'm noticing. It's one of those things where I don't know if I'd say I'm worried about it. I still think there's too much talent on the power play for it to not be really productive. But I will say that it has become very apparent, because of how bad the penalty kill is, that this team cannot survive if the power play isn't really good. So am I worried? No. But on a game-to-game basis, if the power play doesn't produce, you're pretty much net zeroing if the power play doesn't produce, you are very comfortably in the negative of balancing out, your net difference in special teams. And you kind of need them to produce just to get to at least net zero there. So, not worried, but certainly aware of the impact that it's going to have the rest of the season if it doesn't figure it out at the same time.
100%. Scotty, I don't know if I have anything else to mention. Anything from Carolina stand out that I just would not know of?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Elmer continues to impress me. I think that's continuing to get some reps on Friday's game, and obviously a little bit on Sunday too with the top line guys. I think that's man. His it's broken record at this point, but his season just continues to absolutely blow me away.
Yes, agreed. Let's see. Tomorrow, we're going to probably have a game preview. Other than that, we'll figure it as we go. A little score update. It's 1-1 Edmonton, New York, about halfway through the second period. So
I love how you're giving a score update to people that are listening when this game is final.
That's a good point. Kind of pointless. It's new to us, so people will know where we were at when we recorded this. That's a solid point, Scotty. All right. Final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.